So welcome Hit to the session, and I repeat, thanks a lot for taking out time. That too on such a short notice, and that too just 1 week before. You have to shift and do a lot of formalities. I am well aware it's a hectic week, but not more hectic than what you are going to face in just a couple of weeks. Okay. Hey, just for people who are present here, would you like to introduce yourself to everyone? These are all next year applicants, just to let you know.
I think there's a lag. Could you repeat what is it?
Yeah, I just asked you to introduce yourself for everyone.
Yeah, sure. So, hi everyone. As you guys already know, I am Hed. I have reapplied to ISB this year. So, just to give you a brief background, I am been studying in Mumbai. I'm born and brought up in Mumbai. I've done my schooling here. I had been a school topper during that time from PG Garodia. I did my 12th from HR college, where again I had scores. Then I pursued to do my chartered accountancy and my BCom. And I managed to get a very good CGPA in my BCom, around 9.1, and cleared my CA in the first attempt. And I've also done 2 levels of CFA. So when I applied to ISB, I already knew that apart from my GMAT score, which was slightly above average, my academics were my forte with a slight touch of extracurriculars. So that is what I banked upon. And work-wise, I have done my articleship and statutory audit. Then I worked in corporate banking for a year at RBL Bank, post which I did 2 years at HDFC Bank in the investment banking department, where I was primarily looking into the project finance and equity deals, the renewable sector. And post 3 years of work experience, I'll be joining ISB in the coming month. Also, last year I applied to, apart from ISB, I also applied to Oxford, NUS, and INSEAD. I didn't get into INSEAD, but I got into Oxford and NUS with a scholarship. But I chose ISB over it.
Okay. So, hey, the first thing that I would want to know, how did you improve your score? Your classic GMAT score was, I don't know, 690 is less than 90 percentile, right? Correct me if I'm
Yeah,
wrong.
87, 87,
87 to
88.
99 in just few months, in less
Yeah,
than 1 year.
yeah.
That too, you change that entire. GMAT Classic is very different from GMAT Focused. So, what strategies you used? Any resources? Any coaching? Any subscription-based programs? What did you use? And everything for people who are here today.
Yeah. So one thing before saying the strategy, one thing that worked out in my favor is that everything that got changed was something that I was already strong at. So
Okay.
my weaknesses, which was
Bubble.
sentence correction and all, got naturally eliminated. So luck played a big factor, obviously. But one thing that I realized after giving my GMAT is, and after a lot of introspection, is that I was already good at a lot of things. Like there was nothing I didn't know conceptually. So in my early attempt, while I focused more on finishing the lectures or getting through the lectures, it actually turned out to be time waste for me personally, given that I already had a good academic background and I was well aware of these concepts. So after my attempt, there was a lot of introspection in where can I improve and how can I improve, which made me realize that I was someone who needed more practice rather than getting to know the concepts. So, and one thing I did was that I believed that lectures or getting the subscriptions or lectures or something that didn't work out for me. I just needed to sit and practice. So I did it like very old school. I just got the official guide and I solved each and every question. I used to, whenever I was free after work, like in the last 3 months before my attempt, I just gave it an hour or two daily to make sure that I solve each and every question, be it easy or hard. So one thing that happens in GMAT is that when you are already aware that you come from, like, you are crossing the 650, 670 median in the old course, you tend to skip the easy questions. But
Hmm.
when you're actually giving the GMAT, what happens is if you make a mistake on the easier questions, the your score will anyways go down. So that is also one mistake which I made earlier. That I used to just skip the easy part, like, ठीक है ये तो आता है. But that knowing ye to other section, having a hand over it, like good form practice over it, also helps you a lot during the exam.
Yeah, so I want to repeat what Heath said for everyone because this is something which many people do. They once they are somewhere in their preparation journey, they keep practicing only difficult questions. They're thinking that easy one to I'll anyway do, which is
Yeah,
good. But if you actually make a mistake in the easy questions during the real exam, then there is no way you will be able to get your score up.
agreed.
That's a descending journey from there. The moment you
Yes.
make errors, some major errors in the first 10, 15 questions. So every day, once you are practicing the question, you need to practice the questions from all levels each and every day. That is very, very important. So Chirag, sorry, hey, did you use any resources for specifically for GMAT focused apart from official guides?
For GMAT focus, so there were a lot of YouTube channels that I went through.
Okay,
But I didn't get any classes. I didn't get any subscription. I was
okay,
clear.
okay.
So
So it is
I did
totally
get it on my,
doable on your own without wasting any
yeah.
money.
So to be clear, I got it during my GMAT classic. So I had seen those lectures. So the conceptual parts I was already aware of.
Hmm.
But I think it is totally doable on our own. If you are coming, like if you've done your basic schooling math, and if you come from a math background, especially like if you've done even commerce or something, I think you have a good grip over concepts. Personally, permutations, probability was something I found challenging, but it was something not that I didn't know. It was just challenging.
Okay. Now, Heath, this might get a bit uh, more on the behavioral part.
Yeah.
Uh, your score was not very bad in
Yeah.
the first attempt. You still you did not even get a shortlist.
Yeah. So I actually have applied thrice. So first
Oh,
time I
this is your
applied,
third attempt. So now you should motivate people here more. How did you get the motivation to keep trying even for the third attempt?
so I'll
Many,
tell you. So the
I know
first time,
many people who are giving up only after one attempt, and even in that attempt, they have not prepared properly. They just gave one attempt, applied randomly without really putting efforts, and now they are ready to give up. So I want you to talk what kept you motivated even for the third attempt.
so one thing that worked out was that I was applying
Specifically, sorry,
CEO.
sorry, I'm cutting you again. Specifically, when you are already doing so good in your career,
Yeah.
you had all good brands in your career. L2 you have reached, right, in CFA,
Yeah.
or you have done all three?
L2. I did that.
L2 you have done,
Yeah.
your career graph was very decent. In fact, when we talked for the first time, then also I felt that he's already on a good career path. Even after that, you persevered and you still applied for the third time. So I want you to talk about your mindset. What exactly was your mindset behind, being so consistent?
Yeah. So I think the first time I applied, it was like 7, 8 months into my work ex.
Okay.
So that was in the early entry option, which ISB used to have earlier. Now they've come up with the new course. So at that time, honestly, it was a very like देखा जाएगा attitude वाला कि I have to 2 years anyway, which was luckily if I get in, nothing like it. Because when you're working and you know that you have an ISB admit in your hand, there is nothing that can give you more mental peace. So I did work on my GMAT at that time. That was the first time I got a classic GMAT 690, which I believe was good enough. And which is why I ended up applying. I was like, "Pehle GMAT de lete hain, then I'll just figure out whether I should apply or no." With 690, I decided to apply. That time I decided to write everything on my own, all the essays and everything. And given that maybe I was in the EEO slot, and I did got an interview admit that time, but I didn't get a convert. I was not waitlisted. I was not selected. I got rejected. So what happened with me actually at that time is the next year when I applied, when I had 1.5 year work ex, I had to switch from corporate banking to investment banking. So I'd gotten so overconfident that if with this score I got an interview admit, now my profile is only better, given that I've gotten into investment banking. So I was like, this time I'm definitely getting in. There is no question only. And I think with ISB, every other competition obviously keeps on increasing. And there is what bit of pill that I swallowed that year was that, there is no certainty with ISB. Like 1 year, your profile may be very good, 1 year, like, maybe, so that was a very tough pill to swallow, not even getting an interview admit. And at that time, I realized that, this is not how it works. And just because I got an interview admit last year didn't mean that I would get a convert this year. And actually, that was very tough on me. Like I was like at that time, I was like now. So there was one thing I was into investment banking. I was doing good in my career, as I said, but I've always wanted to get into the strategy aspects. And I've done my CA, so I've never had a networking experience as such, which is why since I've done my CA, I always had this thing that I want to do an MBA, whether it be from India or abroad. So then I sat after the time I got rejected in the second year, which is last year. I was like, hey, what can I do to make my profile better? Obviously, you cannot switch jobs. You cannot change your past course. And past academics was something that I was already good at. Like there
Yes.
was nothing to worry on those. So I knew that there was only one major variable that could be changed, that which was my GMAT. So I knew that the only way I can get in now is to go all in on my GMAT. And which is why I had the motivation that if everything else is stable, there is only one factor that is in my hand, then why not put in all my efforts over there?
Okay. I want to highlight one thing which Heath said for everyone here. Your application for this year has nothing to do with the application in the past years, which means reapplicant should never feel overconfident that, hey, I was waitlisted till the last year, which means I have very strong chances this year. It doesn't work like that. Please understand during how the shortlisting of your application happen. Three people read it. Three people read your application before deciding if they want to call you for an interview or not. And then, of course, the other aspects also matter. Your GMAT score, of some weightage for your ACATS, very small weightage. This year, the weightage for GMAT has further decreased, and some weightage to LOR. Majority would be the three people who are reading your application. Now, those three people all will also come with their own biases. You do not know who those three people are. So maybe last year you got in, you reached the waitlist stage or you reached the interview stage because those three people who read it, they found your essays good. While may in next year, if you do not really write your essays properly, or maybe you wrote it properly, but still somehow the three people scored in a way that the average came to be lower and you just missed the mark. So reapplicant should never be overconfident, and reapplicant should also never be underconfident. That whole last year, so didn't even call me. This means I have no chance this year again because my profile has not changed much. So this year also I do not have any chance. You have to apply like a fresh start because there is no relation between your previous application. They do not even go and look at your previous application. There is no need to be overconfident or underconfident. Yes, if you think you can improve your score, GMAT or GRE score like Heath did, great. Because a score is something which is objective, right? No matter who is marking you for the score, they will mark it in the same way because it is objective. But there are so many people, some of them are joining Heath's batch also, who just reapplied just like Heath. Like they were rejected last year and they applied this year, but they did not improve their GMAT or GRE because their GMAT or GRE was already high because the issue was somewhere in the application and interview. Without any change in profile, without any change in GMAT or GRE, they got it. After 2 days, Priyanka, please mute yourself here. Who is this? Priyanka, how do I mute her? Huh. After 2 days, we'll meet Sayanthini. Sayanthini got a 690 in GMAT, just same as Heath. She didn't even apply. She said, I will not apply with this score. I will improve the score. But she could not get time to improve the score because she got laid off. So she was busy in finding a new job. She still applied with the 690 only, and this year she gets in. Sometimes you just need to put your best foot forward and apply. And sometimes you need to improve your GMAT or GRE and then apply. But no matter what you are choosing, please understand this year application has nothing to do with your past applications. Just because in the past application you are this close to getting an admit doesn't increase or decrease your chances of getting an admit this year. Similarly, last year if you are rejected even without an interview, like what happened in here, doesn't mean that this year things will not turn out to be better for you. Because please understand there will be some kind of bias involved in the entire process because three human beings are reading your application. I might find the application very good, but someone else might not be impressed with it. And there is nothing you can do about it. All you need to do is to put your best foot forward. That's why if your GMAT is really low, if it is less than 90 to 93 percentile, it is always a good idea to improve, which Head did. But if your GMAT GR is already high, then I don't think it is needed. Try to focus on your application. Okay. Anil is asking, I have heard that current students are a part of the three people group who shortlisted applications. No, 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 Anil, this is not a myth. This is not a myth. This is actually true. This thing, your application are read by the current batch people and as well as by the AdCom. I don't know how fair it is, but this is how it is. This has been the case from my time also. Since my time when I was at ISB, current students only were reading the application. Okay, two things, guys. While I talk to Heath, please keep asking all your queries. You can unmute and ask as well, or you can put it in the chat. If you're not a part of our WhatsApp group for next year applicants, I have put the link in the chat as well, so you can join. Okay, Heath, great. So GMAT हो गया, mentality के बारे में we talk. Now tell me what happened during the interview. Because after your interview we have not had a chat yet. You just told me that it went well.
Yeah.
So I want to know थोड़ा सा detail में what happened. Do you think they were trying to find out?
Yeah.
In which area they were trying to grill you, or they don't grill generally, but in which area they were trying to kind of focus?
So one thing, it's been a while, but
हाँ
obviously I remember a lot
कुछ
of
तो
it.
याद. No, no, you don't
So
forget completely
uh,
your ISB interview. No one forgets.
I think the key takeaway from my interview is that it was very nice. Like it was very chill. It was like talking to a friend. Obviously at ISB there are not a lot of stress interviews, but they made sure that I was very comfortable. It was like very friendly. So what happened was at the last moment, one of the panelists, the main panelist, he was switched by marketing guy, and the guy was actually supposed to come was a CA.
Oh,
So, so at every point of time, he was very unclear about my career or what I've done because he was not from this background. He was from a marketing background, out and out. So, which gave me the confidence to explain each and everything in detail, which ideally didn't put me also on a lot of burden on being cross-questioned. Since he was taking the charge, so he just wanted to make sure that I'm very clear with my role, with the work I've done, because he also needed that to understand. And the other girl, she was from BCG, not a CA, but she was from BCG, so she still understood a lot of financial terms and everything. But being coming from a 20-year marketing background, he was actually taking interest in knowing what my job encompasses and whether I'm able to like it was like if I can explain it to him, then I'm good to go. So it eventually boiled down to that in my interview. कि अगर इनको समझ रहा है तो तुम like you know what you're doing. You're not fluffing at this point. So it revolved a lot apart from the basic hi, hello, introduce yourself and work and everything. It revolved a lot around the tasks that I've done at work. One situation where I excelled others at the basic work questions, but a lot of deep dive into the technicalities of it, like what actually happened, what if I say I've done something, which we usually write on a resume, like what actually was my part in it, because obviously you're working in a team, but individually what did you do, what did you do as a team? When you say you did as a team, like did you actually go help out someone or how did it work? Like getting into the very deep nitty-gritties of it, that happened. And they also questioned me a bit about my extracurriculars. So I mentioned I'd been to Spain and someone had also been on the same skydiving trip. So in fact, for 10 minutes, we spoke about that, both our
yes.
experience. He shared his experience with me. I shared my experience with him.
So one thing I again want to highlight from what Heath said, you should be able to narrate your entire work your achievements and everything in a layman language, both in the application and during the interview. Please understand, as Sinjini has put it in the chat also asking, are those people who read your interviews from the same background as yours? No, application can be given to anyone. The more jargons you used in your application, lesser the chances of getting it shortlisted. He had very hardcore finance experience, but his application can be read by anyone, and we could have understood each and every part of the application. Uh, irrespective of the background. Same case in the past. This listen to this guys very carefully. They have tried to match people with the same kind of background during the interview. I mean, the panelist, maybe one of the panelists has a similar background as yours. They have tried, but first of all, it is not possible all the time. For example, look at me. I'm a doctor. How many doctors they will be able to call during ISB interview? So even though there are many Dr. Alums from ISB, but it's not possible that they will be available during the interview. That is one. Second, even if they try, the interview process is so chaotic because it is volunteering work based, which means alums just come and volunteer to take interviews on the interview day. Many times alums do not turn up. So they will immediately switch. They will call someone at the last moment and then they might switch you to some other panel. They will see which alum is available. So anything can happen on that day. I'll give you one example. From when I was giving my ISB interview, they had a separate panel for EO admits, early entry option admits. But just before I was going, some one of the panelists wanted to leave because he was getting late. So I was immediately switched to PGP panel. So all the people who were taking PGP interviews that day, they took my interview. It didn't change the outcome. Anyone can take your interview, anyone can read your application. Keep it in mind while preparing for your application and interview as well. Do not use any jargons and ensure that you're completely capable of explaining it to someone who is in 10th standard. That should be that much you should be clear about your work. And if people like Hit can do it, who had such niche hardcore finance background, then anyone else can do it. I don't think it's very difficult. Okay, Hit. Now, $1 million question. Why ISB over NUS or SAID, School of Business, Oxford? I'm sure you did all your research. You talked to a lot of
Yes.
people. What all
Yeah.
did you get to know after your research and everything?
So yeah, so I'll like starting going a bit behind. So what happened is I honestly didn't expect such a good GMAT score when I got a 99 percentile. So the first thing that happened is very I have such an amazing score. People started coming to me, why are you not applying elsewhere? Because till that point of time, I was sure about only ISB.
Huh.
So then I was like, it's actually fair. I should at least apply. What's the harm in applying? If I get in, I can still reject them, but I do have that offer in my hand. So one thing that I saw so one thing I was very clear about was I wanted to stay in India long term. Even if I go, it would be for a short term basis, but long term, I see myself settling here. And I think that is a very personal call, depending on where you come from, what you want in your life. And I actually had a bit of introspection over it. And I definitely didn't see myself going to the US ever because US is something that involves a lot of capital cost, MBA wise. Time, the opportunity cost is higher because it's a 2 year course versus a 1 year course. And so I was like, so luckily I was able to get myself to rule out that factor, which was a very big decision, honestly, not applying to the US. It took a lot of convincing myself on that part, because I didn't want that unnecessary burden on me of having that pressure of applying. Then if you get in again, going into that spiral that, whether I should go, what should I do? So I made it very clear to myself, if even if I'm applying, I'll apply to only the European schools or the 1 year programs where even if I work, I can work there for 2 years and come back. That because that is something that is a personal call again. So I think one thing before when you apply abroad and consider Indian MBAs is you need to be sure where you see yourself in the next 10 years. And after talking to a lot of people, like after getting into Oxford and NUS, and with NUS, I also got a scholarship. So again, it made I got very jittery that the cost differential became very low with ISB and NUS. It was like around 20-25 lakhs.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so I was very skeptical. So I reached out to a lot of alums for NUS also. And I think everyone, given the current economic situation and how, like 10 years back, people had that notion, which was maybe true also, that I can work for 3 years abroad, come back and, have a good corpus and start my life again. But given how India has risen and also the world economy is doing, the pay differential that you can, like the savings that you can make has gone down, like the net savings.
Yeah.
So that's not a very big difference now. The delta has become smaller with every passing year. And with the global uncertainty about the visas and everything, what everyone guided me was that, hey, if you see yourself living in India, I think the network with MBA, the network is one thing that you take with you.
Yeah.
most importantly. So with ISB having an Indian network, whether and I am someone who might, hopefully do a business 2, 3 years down the line. I
Right.
don't see myself working for 20 years. So having that Indian network to reach out to whenever I want versus say, obviously with Oxford and NUS also you have an amazing network, no doubt they're top business schools. But having an 90-95% Indian cohort versus say 5% or 10% people or top 15% people from India makes a huge difference. While obviously going to NUS or Oxford has its own benefit, say funding wise or getting a first check wise, which is what people told me. But again, finding a job here, finding a network here was a bigger pro than the pros over there. So yeah, that's what I learned during this whole journey.
Okay, makes sense. Also, correct me if I'm wrong, Heth, I don't have really much idea about foreign MBAs, but NUS, the placement is an issue for foreign nationals there. I heard a
Yes.
lot. Is it true?
Yeah, yeah. It is true. So again, so what it comes down to is if you're very keen on settling in a country, say UK or Singapore, so you have that zeal, that inspiration to fight for it. That okay, I'll keep on applying. But when you're going with my mindset, okay, hey, I want to return. So what happens with most of them is okay, they just back out. Okay, anyways, अब को तो India आना था. So you can't go there with that attitude, which is what I realized.
Okay. Fine enough. Uh, One more good thing I wanted to ask. So, of course, you worked very meticulously for your ISB application. You did the essay 2 at the very last moment because your GMAT was at the very last moment.
Yeah.
But you did it again really well. I did not have to do much. You pretty much understood the assignment. So, did all that work for ISB application help you in other B school applications as well? Because in my opinion, it actually helps because more or less the B schools ask for the same thing.
Yeah.
20% here and there, but they end up asking the same things in the application. So I'm assuming you did NUS and Oxford said on your own. Did the entire ISB application journey help you in other schools?
So I think with NUS was very similar to ISB, so it
Okay.
definitely helped a lot.
Okay.
And with Oxford and INSEAD that I also play to, they are very like meticulous. They have like 15
Right.
essays, 10 to 15 essays,
Okay.
as compared to 2, 3 essays. But yes, when we write these 3 essays for ISB, you actually sit and introspect. You go through a lot of things about yourself. You make a lot of pointers about yourself. So while directly it will not help you, but
Yeah.
indirectly you're at a very good place when applying to these foreign schools.
I am asking you this because I had a candidate 2 years ago. She unfortunately couldn't get through ISP because her GRE was less than 320. And she and her husband were both working with me. Her husband got into ISB because his GRE was 331. She didn't get in, even though she had a stronger profile.
Oh,
And
okay.
then with all the ISP, everything, ISB with the help of ISB application, she wrote Oxford and Cambridge on her own, and she cracked both. And she just graduated from Cambridge. She is a doctor, so Cambridge is very high on healthcare management
And yes,
in
healthcare. Yes.
entire EU, not only UK. So she went to Cambridge. So again, I don't have absolutely zero experience about European B schools or anything. So I just wanted to know from people like you who have done
No, no, it
that,
definitely helps.
how much it
Mm.
helps and all. Okay, great. Hey, I do not have any questions right now. I would request other people they can unmute or they can put it in the chat about whatever questions they want to ask. Meanwhile, what advice you'd want to give to people who are, uh, you know, it's almost time now. April is already there. In September, they will all be applying. So,
Yeah.
any
So
generic
I think
advice?
for the GMAT, I think I've given like whatever I could tell you, which is keep it simple. No, I think whether it is your GMAT or your MBA application, or you're preparing for this entire course, one thing which is most important is knowing yourself. Because my GMAT preparation can be 360-degree difference from your preparation. The way I work at my SS can be completely different. Because I think with MBA especially, it is more about your journey. Like what have you done? How can you add value to the cohort? And it involves a lot of self-introspection. So I think one thing that you can do from now is
Yeah.
getting to know yourself better. Because when I applied for the first time, it was just not copy pasting, but just generic answers and everything. While in MBA, people value authenticity, which is where in my Oxford and NUS interviews, I was very In fact, in my wow, off topic, in my NUS interview, I
Uh-huh.
was asked a very basic question. You know, the five people who would you like to have dinner with, three people who
Okay.
you would like to have dinner with, dead or alive. And one of my answers was Rakhi Sawant.
Okay.
So,
And
and there was this one
how did
Indian
you
panelist.
explain them who is Rakhi Sawant and why?
And there was this one Indian panelist. There was a panel of three people who
Hmm.
obviously the first moment he heard the name, he was first he made sure he was hearing it correctly, then he started laughing,
Huh.
while the other two were clueless.
Huh.
So then I explained them my thought process. Obviously, I had logic behind it. I was like, with the current trend and age, the most important thing with any brand, legacy brands also, is staying relevant,
Yes.
which is what
She
is
has done
happening. Be it
over the years.
Nike, yeah. So that okay, without having any measurable talent, she has been relevant for 20 years. I think that is a case study in itself. And they were because it was coming from very genuine
No, that's true.
appreciation for. So they were very blown away with it. Oh, okay, nice.
There was a statement by Twinkle Khanna about Rakhi Sawant that you might be laughing at her antics, but she's laughing her way to her bank balance.
Yeah,
She is
exactly. This is what I explained to him.
great. I mean, see, even I'm not saying I love her antics, but I like how she knows how to give the audience what they want.
Was yeah,
She knows her target audience very well.
target
So
audience.
definitely she's a case history in branding and communications for sure.
For sure.
So, but saying it in a B school panel, I mean, kudos to you. I'm so glad that you did it and did it successfully as well, and you were able
So
to.
one thing I got into ISB and Oxford by then. So that was a little bit of the not my target
Okay,
school.
okay,
So I had that.
okay, got it, got it. Okay, Anil is asking, how did you reply to the question, what and how will you give back to ISB? It's like you already had a lot of things, but if you want to explain, how did you reply to this here?
Yeah. So I think I worked with, we also discussed this specific question on, what can I, like basically, how do you add value to your cohort? So one thing that, that comes out when you're giving an interview, especially is your, or like, how actually you want to help, it naturally flows from your expression also. So that is important that you actually mean what you say rather than a stereotypical answer. But yes, again, as I was coming from a core finance background, I knew that there are a lot of engineers. And I had this real life example that, at work also, there are a lot of engineers who are good with the financial concepts, but they are obviously not, cannot match the level of balance sheet reading and everything. And I can add value to the cohort at that, in that segment, by being a part of the finance club, by probably being a president, and making sure that my peers who come from non-finance background understand these concepts very well. Plus, obviously, even when you're practicing case comps and everything, there is a lot of fresh perspective that you can add from your point of view. So I just made sure that I brought out all these minute points and my passion for the renewable sector, the work
Mhm.
that I've done, and
Yeah.
how I could, work along with others on it.
Okay. So engineers asked a very interesting question. How did you decide to go for an MBA in the first place? And I was wondering the same when we talked
Yeah,
for the first time that you were already doing well. Why an MBA? Then you explained that what exactly you are looking
yeah.
for through an MBA. So can you explain it to everyone?
So again, it's a very obviously, like I said, it's a very personal choice that each of us have. So to give a background again, so I was doing good in my current role. I Obviously sky is always the limit wherever you are. So before even I started my CA, MBA was one thing that I was very keen to do, given that it's not just a academic degree. It brings a whole 360 personality development along with it, along with the network that you get. So I come from a background where I can afford to not work for a year or two, where I can afford to take chances in my life at my current age, where even if say after an MBA I sit and think that hey, I want to start a business, I want to put 2 years of my life into it, my family will be very okay. So it was a very personal choice that I decided very initially, that if I have this sort of basic privilege, I'm not coming from a very well off background, but I know I do come from basic privilege
Hmm.
where my parents are not dependent on me.
Hmm.
So I should make the most of it. And I was very clear of getting into a top business school, not doing MBA just for the sake of it. So I was very clear that, if I get into this, this is something that will add value for the next 10 or 15 years of my life. That this 1 year and the financial cost that it comes with it will give me a long term investment. So I was very open to it. And I think it was something that I must do given the resources that I have in my hand. If I don't do it, I'm just probably not utilizing it effectively.
Okay. Uh, that's, I mean, while you were answering this, I was just wondering that that's a great maturity in thoughts, in the thought process, I mean, in the decision-making process.
Yeah.
Uh, you were very, very convinced already, even much before applying. One thing I also liked about you that your goalpost never changed. You knew what you were doing, and you
Oh,
you always, because sometime when you don't get in, you start thinking of 10,000 reasons on, oh my God, why didn't I get
yeah.
in? So should I change this? Should I change that? But you were very clear on your why MBA, post MBA goals,
Yeah.
and what is the need of an MBA to achieve that goal. So why ISB as well. So that completely didn't change at all. Even your SA3 was pretty similar as last year.
Yeah.
uh, Again, that kind of maturity, and you are not that old as well. You're pretty young. So I am sure you are going to do great at ISB, because why I'm saying this, because holding on to what exactly you want is a very, very difficult thing to do at ISB,
Yeah.
when there will be crazy peer pressure,
Incredible.
crazy peer pressure. But one small thing, I was kind of younger than you when I went, but I'm kind of take pride in this thing that I did not change my career path, but because of peer pressure, and that is still helping me. So I, just as an unsolicited advice, as a alum, not as a mentor, that please stick to that even when you go to ISB, because you yourself are a, you will be sitting at a high pedestal there, being one of
Yeah.
someone with a very high GMAT score, and a great profile. But you will find at least
Obviously,
100
yeah.
people better than you there.
Better than that.
Right?
Already did. Yeah.
Okay, you already see. Yeah, great hit. Uh, Vishak is asking, does extracurricular have weightage in the application evaluation? There is no weightage per se, Vishak, but it helps you to have some interesting conversation during the application. For example, one of the candidates we talked to last week, he had written about F1 racing in his application. And coincidentally, someone in the panel was into F1 racing. So it went on a very good, the conversation went in a very interesting way, in an interesting direction. Also, extracurricular ideally should be added even if you do not have something very hardcore. You should narrate it and put it somewhere in SA1, just to show that you have a holistic profile and you're not someone who is only about his work, his or her work. You actually have a life outside your work as well.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah,
Anshul,
Shashank.
hi. I just had one question.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, so my question was that, so let's say in in an opposite scenario where somebody is planning to sort of, let's say, move to Europe and work there, they are in a very different position from Hayes. That Hayes was very insistent that he'll stay in India,
yeah.
but like for somebody else who wants to go to Europe, right? So for them, is it a good choice for them to choose Oxford over ISB if somebody is planning in that respect?
Best schools would be London Business School, INSEAD,
Yeah.
and HEC Paris, not Oxford.
Okay, all right. Because London
Yeah.
economy in itself is in shambles, right? So I wasn't really sure ki yaar, London, if UK, you have to choose a college, what college you choose. But I think apart from LBS, no other colleges make sense to you, right?
HEC Paris and INSEAD.
HSC Paris and INSEAD, of course.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so
ISADE,
much.
ISADE Spain, and
All right.
SDA Bocconi, Italy. These
All right.
five colleges for sure.
Fair enough. So if okay, fair enough. Thank you so much, Anshul. Thank you so
No
much.
problem, no problem,
Yeah, yeah,
Shashank.
So I also spoke to a lot of people just to give you more context.
Uh-huh.
yeah,
So I think ISADE Spain was one of the top, like if you're very sure on settling, the
yeah,
best
yeah.
schools that you can go to is ISADE Spain. So
All
with
right.
me, I wanted to come back to India and Oxford has that legacy image, If I tell
Mhm.
someone I've come from SDA and I tell someone I've come from Oxford, I know internally SDA is better probably, but 99% of people in India won't know. So for me,
Right.
that was a big
Even
factor
though
when
Oxford
applying.
does not have a lot of respect in their own country.
Yeah,
Oxford MBA, I'm saying. Oxford MBA, not Oxford University per se. Because UK is all about LBS. They have LBS is here in UK, and then
we-
all other colleges
definitely.
are here.
Yeah.
Okay. Rishi is asking, as myself being someone in renewable energy project finance, how did you pitch that element to the panel? Uh,
Okay. So I don't think there was much like obviously we discussed on our work, the deals that I worked on. I explained them they wanted to know the entire process from start to end with what I do in each process.
hmm.
If it's origination, so how do deals originate? So I explained it to them that, I don't know where you're working, Rishi, but so at HDFC, obviously the either the relationship manager from corporate banking gets the deal or we get it. So I explained how I may reach out to potential clients or how we may get it in the execution part, like what due diligence we do, like every step,
Hmm.
little step,
Huh.
as if you're explaining it to a toddler. And they were also cross questioning me. It's not like I was doing that by myself. They were questioning me in such a way that it comes out naturally. They were also helping me in that. Well, like very baby steps, like due diligence. So what due diligence do you do? Okay, ratios, then what ratios do you see? Okay, balance sheet, then what do you see? Acha, why do you see this ratio? No, why not this ratio? Okay, but who takes this call? Do you take this call? Does your boss take this call? Okay, but what if your boss says this, but you think that this is right? So it was like, I think 20-25 minute detailed discussion on just this entire process that happened, and up to the documentation execution part, like every step.
Okay.
Hi, Heth. Hi, Anshul. So, yeah, I work at Desri, Dish or Renewable Investments, if you may know. So, one problem
Okay.
I was facing when I was making this pitch for renewable energy is that, like, I work on a lot of mergers and acquisitions and also refinancings. So,
Okay.
the problem I was facing was that I was getting too much technical and I was using a lot of jargon. So, like,
Hmm.
uh, do you think that that was the case which you faced in the interview, or you were able to slide away with that?
So initially, I did. So I'll tell you, initially in my first preparation, I did use a lot of jargons. Obviously, then I spoke to Anshul. He also asked me to keep it simple. I also worked on it. But with me, what happened, even during the interview, once or twice I was told, okay, Arey, what is this? Yeah, I didn't, we didn't get this. Like, because we are used to saying a
Using
lot of like
jargons.
DSCR. Okay, DSCR, yeah. But obviously, someone from a marketing background won't easily know what DSCR is, won't recollect it. So
Yeah.
they only questioned me in such a way that, you know, I make it easier for them. So first 1 or 2 times, in fact, during the interval, so I had to be reprimanded that, what way, what are you saying? This one was too complex. Like, what did you say there? And then obviously
Yeah.
I got the grip of it. I was very self-conscious about it that, before saying something, I was analyzing myself. Okay, if I'm saying this DSCR, so I would only explain it first and then mention DSCR. That is what happened then gradually.
Since you mentioned DSCR, did you work in the US renewable industry? Just for my knowledge.
No, no, I was working in the Indian space only. I worked with a few international companies, diligence them, but 90% of my deals have been here, domestic.
Got it. Thanks.
Welcome.
Okay. I don't think there are any other questions right now. So I will leave Heth to enjoy his rest of the weekend.
Yeah.
Even I will go
Thank,
and take a nap. Okay. So thanks a lot, Heth, for doing
thank you.
this.
Yeah,
That
thanks
too
a lot.
at such a short notice. It really, really
No
means.
worries.
And I'll meet you next year. This year only,
Sure.
not next year. And have an amazing time in the campus. And mostly you will not need me anymore. But if you think I can be of any help as an alumni, please let me know.
Done, done. Thank you.
Great. And I'll see you again in a similar info session, but next time you will be coming after getting placed,
Blessed. Yeah, sure. Done.
motivating many more people.
Done.
Great. And have a good day.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you.